President Buhari, in his January 1st message to the nation, says he will deliver on some crucial infrastructure. If you check the budget presented and monies borrowed by the Buhari government, Ministry of Transport gets a huge chunk of the budgeted amount. Tonight, let's speak with the Minister of Transportation, Mr. Amaechi, who joins me now in the studio. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for coming on tonight. Let me begin with, we are in Lagos, so let's begin in the conversation from Lagos. The president promised in Ibadan at the Mapo Hall when he came for campaign before the election that his government would deliver by the end of 2019 the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. He said also that they will deliver also on the Lagos-Ibadan Railway. But when 2020, it hasn't yet been inaugurated or flagged off.
But you shouldn't forget that the president has a lot of programs that he's engaged in. And therefore, we've told him that between now and April, we need a date for him to be able to commission the project. I'll be there tomorrow to see what's still outstanding. What is outstanding is just the stations, but the minor stations should be ready before the end of February, and the major stations should be ready in March. So by April, we're ready for commissioning.
So it wasn't ready in 2019 as the government promised?
No, but the tracks were ready. We were using the tracks.
But it wasn't ready. It wasn't fully, because the promise you made to
As
Nigerians...
of today, we're conveying passengers, 50 passengers a day.
On a test drive.
Yeah, but you can't, if you don't have a track, you don't test drive. Even if we had completed December 2019, we would still not have commissioned in December 2019 because we need to test drive. If you don't test drive and anything goes wrong, then the people will hold you responsible.
But if you know that this was not going to happen in 2019, why did you promise Nigerians?
That it will be ready is different from it to be commissioned. You're talking about commissioning.
No, when you say it will be ready in the minds of the users, is that they will be able to effectively use it for trade and commuting.
For the past 1 month or 2 months, we'll be running free train services from Lagos to Ibadan. Free. See, if it's not ready, what are you doing? Are we carrying them on our heads? Well, obviously carrying them on the track.
Well, I mean, as it is now, because at some point you said 70% sometimes last year.
I'm saying that...
When will it be fully ready for use?
If it's not ready, we won't be conveying passengers. You know that the country has said, look, passengers are being conveyed from Lagos to Ibadan back to Lagos. They leave Ibadan very early in the morning, about 7:30 or 8 o'clock, and get here before 10. Right? And then leave here by 4 to Ibadan. If it wasn't ready, how would the train be running on the tracks? There are minor things we need to check. We need to check the stations, we need to check communications and signal. But is the train running? The answer is yes. But before the end of the week, we expect 20 coaches and locomotives to arrive in Nigeria. Before the end of this week. I hear it's arrived, but until it is cleared and started running, then we can't say it has arrived. But it's at the Seaport, that's what I hear. And I'll be visiting the Seaport tomorrow on an inspection of the track from the Seaport to Ebute Metta. If it's there and they would allow, if the customs would allow us to see it, we will see it. But basically, if it's ready, I think by the next inspection in February, we'll be using, before even the next inspection, we'll be using those new 2 locomotives and 8 coaches for Lagos, and 2 locomotives and 8 coaches for Abuja, Kaduna. So
when all these coaches are delivered, just how many passengers per trip can the train take from Lagos?
Each coach contains... They will carry 80 passengers seated, 80. So if you multiply 80 by depending on the number of coaches, but for now, you will be having 8 plus 2, you'll be having 10 coaches. So 80 passengers by 10 will be how many?
800. 80 passengers by 10, that's about 800.
Okay, so we carry 800 passengers.
Per time? So how does this benefit Nigeria, economically speaking?
You have, first, see, anytime they ask a question about railway, the emphasis is on passengers. For Christ's sake, the emphasis on rail is cargo. You really need to move goods from the hinterland to the seaport for export purposes, and from the seaport to the hinterland for those who have imported commodities at a cheap cost. So it moves the economy, it grows the economy, it creates employment, it creates production.
But are you able to pay back the money you borrowed
With
that?
It's not possible. It is subsidized. All over the world, rail services are subsidized. What is not, what will pay it, it could pay part of it, but it will not pay all of them. The federal government must look for resources. That's why rail services are not constructed by private individuals. Nowhere in the world that private individuals have brought money to construct rail services. When you hear about private investment in railway, it's about operation.
So, I mean, in one hand, we talk about how much it costs, but let's in fact find out. Altogether, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, when it's totally finished, how much will it have cost the federal government?
About $2 billion.
And that's standard for the length of...
Of course, of course.
And that's the best we could have gotten.
That's about the best. I think when there's this online newspaper that said there was one in Ghana for how much? About 1.something billion, and it's longer than ours. First, there's no trade. Ghana is not constructing any yet. That's the first thing. But basically, this is the cheapest you can get anywhere in the world.
But I mean, from the new monies that the president had presented to the National Assembly to be borrowed, is there any money earmarked for rail transport?
Of course,
that money?
of course.
How much of that?
There is the $5.3 billion for Ibadan to Kano. There is the one from Port Harcourt to Calabar. And I don't know again, but these are the two of them that I can remember now.
The Itakpe rail line
is completed. We should begin services between now and April.
So, I mean, the vision, I've had conversation with you about the vision for Itakpe and how you hope that this will help trade and the Ajakuta part of that length. What has become of it?
We have completed the track from Itakpe to Warri. The stations are nearly, let me not double speak, nearly ready. Communications and signaling are almost also ready. So between now and February, all that should be ready. But again, the president, when he's free, should be able to commission Itakpe Warri between March and April. It just depends on when the president is free.
So, I mean, you have said that it's almost impossible for the rails to pay back the money used to build them.
Over time, maybe, but it's not. Why I say it's almost impossible. If you're given 7 years to pay back, you certainly can't raise out all that money in 7 years.
Because you said there's going to be a lot of economic benefits.
Of course.
So when you move cargos...
It provides social services. That's what the rail services will do for you and grows the economy. And that's more than the cash you will pay back. So when you do that because you want to grow the economy, you want to create employment, you want to create opportunities for those who want to go to school. For instance, when we were young, those who schooled in areas like Kano, Sokoto, could leave Enugu and arrive, is it Kara Namada or where, and do a transfer to Kaduna, to Kano and all that. Now, there are a lot of services that the rails will provide for you. It opens up places for industrial growth. Those who, just watch out when we start running Lagos Ibadan. You will see more industries along the line where you have rail services. They'll be asking us for spur leading to their factories. So when you create factories, you create employment. When you create employment, you reduce crime. And I'm sure, Shegun, you would like to live here by 3 a.m. without fear, like, okay, maybe we're not born by then, when you could drive from Ibadan or even from Sokoto straight to Ibadan, you are not afraid that anybody will attack you on the road. The reason why people are attacked, the reason why there is crime is because there is unemployment. There is unemployment because we're not producing. We're not producing because there are no infrastructures. So if you want to produce, you must have power, you must have logistics. What logistics? Transportation. So the air, the road, and the train. The rail services, including the sea services, must be available. And there must be, once there is power, there are roads and there are train services, it encourages production and reduces the cost of production. Currently, the cost of production in Nigeria is extremely high. And it's high because those infrastructures are not in place. So you see an individual company or an individual is a government on its own because he provides for himself security men, provides for himself water, provides for himself road. And so when you look at, we're not competitive. Whatever we produce here is not competitive compared to those areas where they have these infrastructures. So what the current government is doing is to provide those infrastructures to encourage production.
Okay, so if I may ask you, I'm looking at the economic linkage, because in the mind of anybody that is economically savvy is that this government says it wants to improve economic status of the country by providing some of these social services, rail, and some of these infrastructure. Have you built anywhere else around these areas?
What do you mean by that?
No, so in some parts, and this is what is, I mean, probably standard practice in some other parts of the world, where all of these cargoes are being lifted from one point to the other. There are warehouses where you can, that's a linkage, economic linkage. Are there any of such infrastructure that you are providing around these areas?
There's nowhere you will have a rail services, you will have warehouses. Are you
building some?
Well, of course, in almost all the stations, unless there are very minor stations where you don't have cargoes that will drop. In Abeokuta, we have a yard for purpose of goods when they arrive. So you can store them for the owners to pick them up. That's Abeokuta. I think you have in Ebute Metta, you have in Ibadan. Right? The same with Abo. On the Tabe Warri, you have in Abo. So you see, Abo is a very big yard. Abo has a compound that houses about 1,000 residents. So you have 1,000 houses there for workers who live in Abo to work on the Tabe Warri rail line. So there are other services that we have provided facilities for. There are.
So effectively, we should see a reduction on the movement of cargo and trucks on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway as soon as this kicks off.
I hope so. Why I hope so is that it's the choice of the...
No, because, I mean, if you are building this infrastructure, you also need to make policies. Because these roads also have the capacity.
So you want us to make a policy to say, oh, look, you can't move your cargo.
But what then?
The Minister of Works thinks along that line. He thinks that not all cargoes should be found on the road. That those cargoes that are very heavy should be found on the track. That's my view. That's what we hope that will happen. But we will provide the services for those who want to use them.
But does it make sense for you to provide cargo, track, and you're not making policies to make sure the use is effective?
See, the first is to construct those infrastructure. For instance, if you make that kind of policy now, and then the person who is transporting from Lagos to Kano cannot reach Kano because we've not finished from Ibadan to Kano, it will be wrong. Complete the infrastructural development first. So when you finish Lagos to Ibadan, complete Ibadan to Kano, do Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, do Lagos to Calabar, before you can make that kind of policy. Because it's a federal government policy. It's not a policy meant for one village.
All right.
So if you make that policy for everybody and the services are not everywhere, then you inhibit movement of goods.
There's a lot.
Unless you say that wherever there are train services, weight of cargo cannot go on the road, then that's possible.
It brings me to the question of security on those rails. What are you doing to secure? Because there's been fear on some of these rails about how secure they are.
Has anyone been attacked on the rail before?
No, aside that question. The reality is that
I cannot discuss security with you on this table. The only question to ask you is, has anybody been attacked on the rail before?
No, because years ago. No, I'm not talking about recent time.
Okay, so
I'm talking about years ago when there was hold on, Honorable Minister. There was a time that some few products were being transported, and around Ibadan, the rails were destroyed and sabotaged, and those, you remember that incident. So this is the reason why I'm asking the question. This was years ago. This is almost 20 or over 20 years ago.
Okay, I can't remember that. I never.
So that's why I'm asking the question. Are the rails secured?
Do you believe that if it was not secured, it would not have been attacked?
So they are secured?
Of course.
So because I'm wondering why you're answering me in the negative. I just want to be sure.
No, because what you want me to do is to tell you what security measures we put in place. I can't. It will compromise security. All you know is that let one person who say he has been attacked on that rail. All I hear is, when they disembark. When they disembark, my security measures ends with the railway, not what happens after you have disembarked and then left the stations. In the stations, there are security men inside the train, around the tracks, everywhere you have security. I won't just discuss it because that will be compromising security.
So you guarantee Nigerians that the rails are secured?
I'm not God. Just know that it is secured. Don't put that word guarantee because I'm not God. Anything could happen, mistake could happen anywhere. But as we're talking today, the current one we're running, which is Abuja to Kaduna, is secured. If it's not, we are compromising.
What about the Lagos-Ibadan?
We are constructing. But up to now, it's also secured. They were running 25 passenger trains. And they ask those who have taken it, they will say there are security men on it.
So, I mean, another question is some of the issues raised by some passengers who use the train in Kaduna, from Kaduna to Abuja, about the issues of ticketing and administration of passengers in those areas. What have you done to fix all those?
I have on several occasions told Nigerians that the problem of ticketing is not, or the problem of not getting a seat on the train is not the problem of ticketing. You can't give more than 300 tickets because we had infrastructure for 300 passengers. Now, why did we do that? At the traffic count we did, we discovered only 300 passengers who used the train at the time we had finished construction. Unfortunately, we ran into the major kidnapping crisis on Abuja-Kaduna Road. So nearly all passengers came to the track. Now, we moved from 300 passengers per day to 3,700 passengers per day. And we have not still purchased the coaches. We moved about 2 coaches from Lagos to Kaduna. That's 160 passengers. You still have not touched the 3,700 passengers. We moved another 2 coaches from Itapewari to Kaduna, Abuja. Another 160 still has not solved the problem. However, between now and February, we are going to introduce 8 coaches with 2 locomotives. This one is a speed train. It will just run straight from, maybe to stop at Kubwa, but from Idu and Kubwa straight to Kaduna. And I can assure you that that one will carry 80 passengers multiplied by 8.
That's about 700 or so.
700 or 800, about 800.
No, it can be up to 800.
Yeah. If it's by 10.
So, I mean, these coaches that you are getting, are they new?
Has anybody shown evidence they are not new? They're new. They are brand new. You can't be asking that kind of
Minister,
question.
no.
The federal government can buy fairly used coaches. For Christ's sake, we have coaches that we can refurbish if we want to buy fairly used coaches. I don't know why people ask that kind of question.
We ask because we are in Nigeria. And this kind of things have happened before.
It's unfortunate that you don't trust yourself.
No, I trust myself.
Okay.
But
so
the question is
when the contracts are awarded,
the past.
Please, I don't know about the past. When the contracts are awarded, they're not awarded for the purchase of fairly used coaches. They are awarded for brand new coaches. And we go to inspect. In fact, we see the carcass. We even see how the engines are constructed, how they pick pieces of this, that, and that from different parts of the world to build an engine. We see, I have seen, I go, even to the point where I've gone to where the furnace, where they make these metals they use for tracks. What else people want us to do?
Now, as it stands now, we've talked about, there are a lot of questions I wanted to ask you, but I won't end the conversation without talking about the Seaport. The Apapa road is still a nightmare. There are a lot of issues. You said your government says you are you're working on the Lekki, you're working on the Warri. In fact, at some point you said what we have in Nigeria, they are river ports, not seaports.
We don't have seaports. We don't have seaports.
So what are we doing?
There's a Lekki deep seaport. That will be the first seaport in Nigeria. The president has approved 2 other seaports: the Bonny Seaport, and the Warri Seaport. Those are 2 new seaports that the federal government has approved. Then there's a bomb seaport that we're also going to approve, but that's been funded or sponsored by the Akwa Ibom state government? But they're bringing in private investors. This should be able to serve the nation, because we currently have 6 river ports, and then we are building another 3 to 4 new seaports. They will serve more than
Are you building roads?
I'm not the Minister for Works.
No, that's the question.
You need to ask.
But you both work together, because you can't build these seaports without proper roads.
But Shane will be honest. Are you not seeing that there is a renovation or rehabilitation work on the Apapa Seaport in terms of roads?
The reason why some of the other ports are not working is because the roads are bad.
No, it's not because of the roads. It's just simply because there's insecurity in our waterways, and we are charged war premium for all our cargoes. So until we fix it, and which we are trying to fix, and it's important I mention it to you because the rent interests involved in the water, who get contracts to provide security for those who are dealing with oil production, will soon begin to fight us. They have fought us before because we had awarded that contract. Now that we're about to launch into the water, they will fight us again because it will be saving the country billions of dollars from these people not getting this contract, protecting our pipelines and all that. And we're almost concluded, and we're about to launch into the water.
I wish you the very best, Honorable Minister. You surely have your work cut out for you. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Before we go, let's get some of your views quickly. I have 3 of them, tweets that I'm going to be taking before we close the program. The first one is from Daily Collager at Daily_Collager. It says, for me, ensuring high-speed rail service availability will be the benefit for all. We should work more on reducing the travel time. DSO at Daniel Sheung says, but the road to Idu train station in Abuja is as dark as hell. The road by the village is deteriorating daily. Even the road to Kubwa train station is also very dark. What is the minister doing with FCTA to sort this out, please? The last tweet is from Donani Robert at Simply Sunay 14 says, with a lot to say, the Honorable Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amaechi, is doing very much in the area of transportation. We must be honest to say that a lot has been achieved. Thank you so much for your thoughts, everyone. But that's where we draw the curtain. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for coming on. That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye for now.